Hello, this is Dr. Dan Cardellichio. Want to welcome you to another segment of Momentum Monday, powered by America's leadership expert, Jen Garrett, attorney Jen Garrett, and me, Dr. Dan. We haven't been on in about a month. We've been really busy, flying and doing all sorts of things. We've been moving the ball. Attorney Jen is the author. You didn't think I had the book anymore, right? Move the Ball. I have an autographed copy of it. So, you can't see what Jen said to me. So, Jen, welcome back. How are you today?
Hey, Dan, it's good to be back. It's Monday, so ready to get moving yet again.
You know what? We've been moving the ball Saturdays and Sundays, Mondays and Tuesdays. And so for our listeners today, if you have any comments, first and foremost, put them in the comments section. Even if you're not listening to this live, you could put it into the comments section and we'll be more than happy to answer it. But even though we haven't been on, I'm going to say in about a month, right? In about a month, if we haven't been on, boy, we've been talking, we talk just about every other day or so, on business and moving the ball and what's going on and how to do that. So, even though we haven't been on, we've been accountability partners for a while, like, Jen, what are you doing? Did you do this? You said you're going to do that, right?
Yep. And that's important. You need to have those people that will hold you accountable so that you can keep that ball moving, because you get busy, you get tired, you get down, you're not feeling it. And you need those people to be like, hey, how's it going over there?
Let's go. Let's get moving the ball.
Let's go. That's why they like when you go work out, right? They say, have a workout buddy with you for that exact reason, that accountability.
Yeah. So what's on your mind today, Jen? I know yesterday was Father's Day, right?
Yes. So happy belated Father's Day to everyone out there. So that was your special day. Hopefully you had a wonderful one. What's on my mind today? So first I'll start by saying, because it was Father's Day, I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, this is the 5th Father's Day without my dad. And it's hard to believe that it's been that long already, almost 5 years since he passed. And it's just a reminder to me, and I've shared on the show before, about how my dad passed and just how sudden it was. It's a reminder that tomorrow is never promised to any of us. And so we really need to show up each day and take advantage of each of the gifts that we've been given, because not everybody gets that gift, right? So, what I was thinking about is, the competitive spirit, the competitive nature of athletes, and how I was in Tampa the last couple of weeks, and I was meeting with a bunch of different players and agents. And one of the agents, we were at early dinner, and he was like, as athletes, because he played also before he was an agent, he's like, you just show up. There's no, I don't feel like coming today, I'm going to take it off. Like, no, like, you show up whether you want to or not. And that's so true about being successful. Is the successful people in life, they show up every day, even if they wake up, they're not feeling it. Even if you got a bad night's sleep, even if you're dragging and need an extra shot of coffee, fine. But you show up and you take on the day, and there's no excuses. There's no, oh, well, I didn't sleep well last night, or, oh, I'm not feeling it today. No, you show up. So that's a big thing for me that I've been thinking about a lot, is how are you showing up each day? Are you showing up in the right way? And when you do that, that is when you move the ball.
Yeah, I think this is an important topic because you don't feel it every day. And my first thoughts that are going through my mind is, this is what I've been trying to teach my son for a long time. Now, granted, he was young when I was teaching this to him, but he's playing hockey, as you know. Sometimes he doesn't sleep as well or whatever, and he doesn't feel like taking his test at school. But I think he's finally got it, where he's saying to himself, I got to get up and I got to get going every single day, So, we've been working out a lot. We've been doing a lot of school work, even though school is over. We're spending time because he's got books to read. And, you have to show up no matter what. And another thing I find interesting is that there were plenty of times playing whatever sport it was in high school or college where you didn't think you had it, but then you get out on the field and you have it, right? You may not, because in between those ears, your brain is saying one thing to you, and it's actually something else. I mean, you may be ready to go. So you can't think of, you can't listen to that liar that's going on there, right? So I
Right.
mean, you smiled when I said that, right? You can't listen to that.
No.
You got to find a way to move forward, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And so part of it is conditioning yourself to be like, okay, no matter what's in my head, I'm not going to listen if it's a negative thought or if it's one that's not productive. I'm going to go because I'm going to show up again. I'm going to show up the way I need to so that I can make the most of the day, no matter what, no matter how I'm feeling. I'm going to make sure that I would take a win or a few wins today.
Right. How do you condition yourself if you're not feeling it on this particular day? What do you do? Is there something like, I'll listen to some music, or I'll listen, to something that's motivational, and I'll get up, I'll pick up your book and I'll start reading the book. And it generally gets me going.
Yeah, great question. So we've talked about gratitude. That's important when you have your perspective in a way that you're appreciative of the blessings that you have. That's helpful because it puts you in that positive state. For me, I will listen to music. For me, because I am a sports girl, I will watch football film at times, but that's me. That's not everybody. Like, you got to find what is that thing that's going to get you going. Is it music? What kind of music? Is it whatever it is, right? Is it
so Jen,
something? Yeah.
What type of music do you listen to get going?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm interested. Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, it varies actually. So usually, I don't have like, okay, I'm gonna listen to my pump. I mean, sometimes I'll listen to like workout playlists. Sometimes I'll listen to college football playlists that I have built or that are out there. And sometimes I'll just listen to some pop music, just something upbeat. Not usually like sad songs, that put you in a downer mood, or slow music, but it's really something that has an upbeat vibe to it. And that can come in many different genres. So
what's your genre? What is it that you listen to? Who is the artist, or what is that genre that you listen to? I'm gonna tell you mine, so it's all good.
I don't have a particular like one artist that's kind of like my go-to person, but I am a pop, hip hop, R&B kind of person. So yes, that's kind of the general genre that I'll listen to.
And that gets you going. I'm old school. I'm really old school. And I'm old school rock and roll. So it could be anywhere. It's like you're running or you're working out, or you want to snap your mind, Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, somebody along those lines, I'll listen to, and that'll just, get me going. It's like a Pavlovian reaction because I've used it for such a long time. So my son does the hip hop thing when he's, and I said, I don't understand this. How come you're not listening to, Black Dog by Led Zeppelin? He's like, who, what? So I think that's interesting. So he's got his own little thing going on when it comes to that. How else do you condition yourself besides music?
We've talked about this many times, and it's about having that plan for the day, and so planning out the week, planning out the day. And so it's coming to the plan. Say, all right, what did I plan for today? Even if I'm not feeling it, we got to move. Right.
Just start going. Right.
Yep. So I'll just look at, that list of things that I've built for the day and say, all right, what do I want to attack first? And hopefully what you want to attack first is the most important thing. But if not, if you need a little bit of time, like take something little, like, especially if that important thing is going to take you a lot of time and you're not warmed up and do something else that's on your list that's easier to knock off, because what happens is you're going to feel great, right? I checked that box and now I'm feeling some momentum and now I'm ready to continue pushing, because you've gotten something done when you're not 100% feeling it just yet.
Right. And, I'll even go old school. And sometimes, if I'm not feeling it, I'll just go downstairs into the cellar, or I'll go down to cellar. We call it cellar in North Jersey. So I'll go out to the garage and I'll put some, put a couple of, no, not a couple anymore, but 45-pound weights, and I'll start benching, or I'll start doing something physical, even if it's just walking the dog. And sometimes what I find out, sometimes when I find out, even if I close my eyes for 5 minutes and I get a little, just quiet my mind, I can also bounce back from that.
Mhm.
So let's talk more about the competitive spirit. What is
Before
that?
you go there, I'll just say one other thing that I do sometimes, which is helpful, is I will listen to podcasts.
Yes.
I will listen, shameless plug, I will listen to episodes of my podcast, not because I want to hear myself. I don't care about that. Except I do want to listen because I'm always looking to improve. So I will listen for that aspect. But the guests that I've had on, there's been so many, and you do a lot of podcasts, and there's so many great stories and little nuggets that you get from your guests. So I'll go back just so I can hear the things that they have to share. Not all the time. In podcasting, I'll say, if anything, I'll listen to it maybe a couple times a week in the morning. I won't listen throughout the day, but in the morning, it's more music and my planner and those kind of things. But there are times when I do listen to a podcast, and that's not a bad way. Pick your podcast that you enjoy, that really excites you, and use that as another way to get you going if you need a little extra oomph in the day.
So if you want that little extra, Move the Ball podcast and Destination Health podcast are two really good podcasts that you can listen to.
Put that plug in
and
there.
you know what? I like that because you're right. Because like I've had on some, pretty famous, intense, or top of their game individuals. You just had on Mike Ditka, right? You're going to have him on, and that is, Iron Mike. We hated Iron Mike in the 80s, but now you look back on it and you respect, because he was, you always knew he was a great coach.
Yeah.
But, during that Fog Bowl, when you beat us, in 1985 on the way to the Super Bowl, I didn't like him at all. I was like, we got to cancel this game because we didn't have it that day. Anyway, it's really good, because I've had on some individuals that are move the ball type of people. So competitive spirit, man, I love that. Competition is good. Competition is not bad, right?
Right. No, absolutely not. I mean, competition is important. It's part of what makes us successful, because that competition there's a couple things. One, in business, you compete with other businesses, obviously. So you need to know, how do you differentiate and, distinguish yourself for your client base, your target market, et cetera. But when it comes to outside of the business context, even as individuals, having that competitive nature is important, because it's important for us to always be looking at how we're going to reach that next level, right? And how do you do that? It's by growth, development, looking at how you can improve, focusing on getting, there's a lot of push about be 1% better, right? But it is about, you don't have to make these huge changes every day. It's just about being a little bit better every single day, working on your craft, whatever that is, and the skills that you need to be successful in your respective industry, and just perfecting those, and striving for excellence, not perfectionism, excellence in what it is that you do. And so that's part of what competitive athletes do. They're always looking at, even Tom Brady, right? Either you love him or you hate him, but whether you like him or not, you cannot argue with the fact that he is a great quarterback, right? I mean, how many Super Bowl championships did he win? He went to a different team, and yes, there was talent on that team. I mean, you can make the arguments, but he is still a great quarterback, a great athlete. Right. And even at the top of his game, he's still looking at how he can continue to improve. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. The list can go on and on. Jerry Rice, all of them. They don't just get complacent and be like, oh, yep, I've got these stats, woohoo. Right. No, they're always looking at how can I continue to beat that, to break that. And that's what competitive athletes do.
And you know what? When you're in competition with somebody, it's not something that's bad either. When we were playing, we were competing for a spot on the team, so it pushed you to work a little bit harder. It pushed you to be that much better. It was good. It wasn't anything that was negative, because a lot of people think that competition is negative and having that competitive spirit is negative, and it's not at all. This past weekend, I traveled a lot too, just like you did, I think, right? I think you were in Tampa. I was in another part of the country, and I had 5 hours, and I was listening to podcasts, and I was listening to yours. I was listening to mine, because you want to make yourself better. And I was listening to others, and I got a lot of great ideas. And I whipped out my notebook, and my wife, and, it's like, what are you doing again? And I just said, yeah, whatever, and I'm like, it's something that I think about, and I realize I'm in competition with myself more than anything else, right? Because I'm trying to make myself better, trying to help out my patients better. I'm trying to do something better in the office to get a better outcome. So if somebody takes that and they want to try to whatever, that's okay with me. I do that. I'm saying, listen, it's all good, because I'm going to continue on doing what I'm doing, and you should do that in addition to, right?
Absolutely.
I think.
Go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just say, I think the call to action for people listening is think about, what is that thing that you can work on today to be better, right? Don't try to tackle everything, but it's just focusing on some little element that you can work on to improve, your performance, who you are as a leader, whatever. But that's one of the calls to action for today's segment, is really think about how can you, adopt that competitive nature. It is about competing with yourself, not just with your colleagues and other people that are out there in the business world. The other thing I like that you mentioned is, competing for a spot on the roster. I think that's important because sometimes we lose sight of that when we're not playing a sporting event, because, in professional football, baseball, whatever, there are so many other people that are willing to take your spot, right? If you don't perform. When we're in a job, per se, you can have mess ups, right? Unless you do something really, really wrong or violate a policy or procedure, you're not going to get fired, right? But if you don't perform in a game, well, that could be depending on where you were at, they could be like, nope, you're gone. We're going to put in the next person. And so athletes are always thinking about how replaceable they are. And sometimes we lose sight of that because it's a little bit different in the business world. And so I think it's important to also think about that you are replaceable. Even as an entrepreneur, you are replaceable. If you're not delivering for
I was just going to say,
we are all replaceable. There is someone else that wants your spot, whether you are in, the business world, in the sports setting, in the entrepreneurial space. So you can't lose sight of that.
Listen, it is. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can lose it. And that could mean not only loss of income, but bankruptcy and all of that sort of stuff. That can be an important aspect of this. So competitive spirit, great topic for today. And it's okay to be competitive. It's okay to compete. It's not negative. It's positive. It helps move the ball. It helps you move you professionally, personally, mentally, emotionally, every aspect of life.
Absolutely.
Jen, we're almost done here. I'm going to give you the last word. What's the last word of the day?
Oh, it's Monday. How are you showing up today? How are you going to focus on being better? And what are you going to do to move the ball this week? Those are the things I want you to think about.
And we're going to be back next week, we hope, depending upon what part of the world we're in or the country we're in. And we're going to ask you guys questions. What did you do this week to move the ball? So for everybody that's listening, next week around 9:30ish, and I'll put up something on Sunday on social media, so we'll have a definitive time. And we want to know, we want you to tell us what you did next week that you moved the ball and that you competed this week. Jen, it's always a pleasure seeing you.
Likewise.
And where can they find your podcast?
If you go to movetheballpodcast.com, all the episodes are there, or you can just search Move the Ball on your podcast platform of choice.
And I'm Dr. Dan. You can find me in social media, Dan Cardellichio, DCMS. You'll see all the offices and the podcast and so forth. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you, Jen, for being here today. I know your time is valuable as an entrepreneur. We both have that. And I want to thank everybody for listening, and be the best version of yourselves. Move the ball, and we'll see you next week. Take care.